Hello, everybody, and welcome to the episode, which I never check. I think it's 119 of the This Old Knit podcast. I am your host, Nina, otherwise known as Ine, on Ravelry, Instagram, and Pinterest, and you can find show notes for this episode and all previous corresponding numbered episodes on their thread in my This Old Knit Ravelry group page. So welcome back. I think it's been 2 weeks, so I think I'm still on track, but a lot has happened in those 2 weeks, and I wanted to make sure I came and podcasted with you today, so thank you for joining me. I'm having some issues with my video editing software. I'm looking at the timer, which I can't see because of my shirt. So what I'm going to do, I think, is stop the video at 30 minutes and not let it bleed over. So typically what I'll do is I'll record my first segment and kind of go until it tells me that maximum recording length has been reached, and then it'll flow over to a new one. But when I import that to my computer, it is recognizing that first segment as being 7 minutes long. Then if I upload the video straight to YouTube, it's totally fine. So I'm tired of dealing with it. I've had, I think, 3 separate recordings that have had to go up in 2 segments, and that is why. So I apologize for that. I know it's probably confusing, and I bet people are probably picking part 2 and then wondering what happened and why it just cuts right in. I haven't been able to do my intro music or my pictures or anything because of that problem. It's very frustrating. I'm thinking it's a combination of, I use Windows Movie Maker, which is a free software that Windows put out in 2012. And they have made a new version, but of course it's a paid version and it's like $300. And while I love all of you, unfortunately I do all of this on my own dime, and if I got video editing software, I wouldn't have money to send out prize packages or buy yarn. And pretty much all of the prizes, with a few small exceptions, come from my own stash or I go and purchase them. So yeah, the fun would stop. So I think I may end up having to buy a new computer fairly soon anyway. My computer is at least 10 years old. I believe that we got it in 2008. So it may be 11 years old. But it was either when I was pregnant with Megwin, before I got pregnant with Megwin, or right when I had Megwin. Sometime around that time frame. She's going to be 10 this year, so it's somewhere around 10 years old. And I try to eke out as much life as I can from electronics, but it is starting to show its age. Some programs don't run well. Most of what I do is just browsing the internet and watching podcasts. And I do some work from it, but I also have a laptop from work, so I can work remotely on that. So that is not a driving need to upgrade my computer. You all don't care about this. I'm sort of babbling right now. So anyway, I drew winner for the self-striping cow, which finished up at the end of August. So the prize, which I did not have with me last time, my mom donated this, and you have seen her on the podcast when she's come to visit. So she donated 2 skeins of Knit Picks Felici. This is classic Felici, so when the labels look like this, it's the older kind, which I love very much. They did a lot of really different colors before. They didn't have as much of that issue of the extra stripe that sort of blends into the other stripes. So this colorway is Martinique. So it's a very nice tropical set of colors. And the winner was post number 10, which is Green W Girl. So congratulations. So PM me on Ravelry with your shipping information and I will get this out to you. I have something for Jessica and I have a surprise to send to Kristen. So I will be going to the post office probably this week. So, congratulations. And thank you all for participating in these self-striping cowl. I started a bunch of self-striping projects, but I don't believe I finished anything. But, you know, it's great. It was fun to like re-look at all of my stash that's self-striping and remember why I love it so much. So today I am drinking coffee out of this mug that a friend of mine, Jen, surprised me with. At some point, she just sent me, like, it came as a little package, so it had a tiny mini bundt cake that was lemon flavored, and it was delicious, lemon poppy seed. And then it had this, this mug that says, "Throw kindness like confetti." And it's yellow, because yellow is my favorite color, and she knows that. So, thank you, Jen. But unfortunately, I am a right-handed coffee drinker, so you don't get to see the saying, so I want to make sure I showed you. I get to enjoy the saying. And I am wearing my Sperry, which is a pattern by the wonderful Amy Miller. And I've got this like tropical tank top on underneath of it, but it has all of the same colors as the Stellar Banshee Vine color, because this basically encapsulates most of my wardrobe. If there were blue in here, it would be everything. So it has, like, you know, pink and magenta, some burnt orange, some yellow, and of course gray. Gray features heavily in my wardrobe. So I realized as I was stacking up all of my sweaters, which I'm finally getting to go through and maybe start to maybe wear a little tiny bit. I have a lot of pink sweaters, a lot of them, and I love the color pink very much. I have a lot of pink sweaters and a lot of gray sweaters. Or pink and gray sweaters. But I would like to diversify a little bit and bring in some of those other colors that I enjoy. And actually, most of the things on my needles right now are not pink or gray. So, yeah, that's my intro. Cowl winner. And now I will talk about FOs. I have an FO, I have a hoe, I've got lots of flips. So, my FO comes with a little bit of a story. So, for those of us on Instagram, and for those of us not on Instagram, there was a controversial thing that happened last week, I believe, with Caitlin Hunter. So she was having a birthday sale or a subscriber sale or something like that. I saw it. I get up about 5:30 in the morning. I was like, ooh, cool. I got a couple of patterns, and then the comments on that post proceeded to turn into a racist dumpster fire of people saying, I would love to buy your patterns, but Ravelry can't support their bigotry, blah, blah, blah. And some people rightly called out that Caitlin was not moderating those comments. And it turned out that she had blocked some people of color previously and didn't give a really good reason for it. So if you are interested, there is more of it on Instagram. You're welcome to DM me if you would like to know more. I'm not going to say the people who spoke with her or the people who were affected by being blocked, but the profile went private for a while. She issued an apology, and I'm kind of waiting to see where things go from here. I'm hoping that that was a sincere apology and that we'll be able to move forward, but I can understand why people are rightly concerned to see that from a dyer, and to see what was basically a display of being textbook kind of white fragility type behavior, and just reacting, like gut reacting, and not behaving like an adult and kind of just going, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, that is not the message that I meant to send. I'm going to go in there and moderate. I want people to feel safe and comfortable screw racism. That's an easy thing to do, and sometimes I know it's hard to admit that we're wrong, but I think it's important to do that. And yeah. So with all that said, I didn't feel super comfortable about posting this, which sucks because I worked on this thing for months. I cast it on in April and I just finished it. So not going to talk about the pattern because of that, but I am hopeful that Caitlin will move forward and that was sincere and that she's going to try to support people more in the future. So the yarns I used are Lady of the Lake from Bull and Vine Yarns. This is on her Volca base. And this one is called Undertow. So I didn't realize that Shannon has since named it after I got my yarn. But it was an unnamed teal at the time. It is in sparkle base. I alternated skeins using the helical method. And it's got 2 sleeves, because that's what human long sleeve sweaters have. But I love how the variegation played really well with that semi-solid. These cuffs, while they look like comically small, are large enough for my hands. It's weird because there's ends. But you can see they're totally fine. There's lots of room there. This has not been blocked yet, so it is hot off the needles. There's still visible ends, which I usually at least take care of those before I pop it on and start wearing it. And it's still hot, so a long sleeve colorwork sweater is not going on my body. Even in the forests of Connecticut, it's not cold enough yet. So there it is in all of its glory. For those who are going to Rhinebeck or Indian Tangle, this will most definitely be making an appearance sometime during that weekend, assuming that it is hot or cold enough. Not hot. Assuming it's cold enough, this will be one of my Rhinebeck sweaters. If it's too hot, I will just be wearing it sometime throughout the winter because I'm getting closer to having an all hand knit sweater wardrobe, which is kind of awesome. So yeah, I believe I knit the size 42, but I made my gauge be tighter because I don't like the loose gauge that this pattern called for. So yep, I did a tighter gauge. I added in some waist shaping using the same stitch counts as the honey sweater from Amy Miller. I really like the waist shaping on that, and it's the same what do we call it, progression that I use for now all my sweaters. So that's a well-written pattern, and I've knit it as well. So yeah, what else can I say? I really love it. It's squishy, it's soft, it's beautiful. I love how my color choices came together. Yeah, I'm very happy about it. So that is my big FO. Hooray! And then my half object is a sock. So this is the first of a pair of socks for Josh. This is Patons Kroy North American sock in the Woodsy colorway. And then I did Knit Picks Rosada in Cocoa for the toe. I did not were I to do it again, I would use this for the heel flap too, because then I would have had enough to go down to probably here with the actual sock yarn. So you can see I had to make a much longer contrasting toe because this is an entire skein of Patons Kroy. It's not a huge put up, like the yardage is not super generous. It's more than enough for a pair of socks for me, but for a man sock, you probably do need to do contrasting heels and toes, unless if your man has a more normal sized foot, which probably is the case. Josh wears somewhere around a size 12 men's US, so pretty big foot. Usually I do a 72 stitch sock for him. I usually do an 18 slip stitch rows, so 36 row heel flap. This one I did 20 because I've noticed that across the top of his foot is a little bit tight. But it seems to still do that. However, once they stretch out, they fit totally fine, so he was okay with it. So this is technically a 40 row heel flap. Yeah, so it's a vanilla sock in a man size. And then I did cast on for the second one, so I'm just doing the ribbing. And because I knew I used the entire ball, I couldn't screw around with making them match. Because then I definitely will run out of yarn. So I just had to go with it. This was where the ball started. So it started on this kind of tan with dark brown stripe that goes one way and then the other way. I think it makes like an arrow shape. So that's going to be the top of his sock. He doesn't care. He doesn't need them to match exactly. It doesn't bother him, which is good because if he wants them to match, he shouldn't have giant freakish feet. So that is my half object. And I'm going to put this sweater somewhere else so I have room. Because last week I ran out of room, or 2 weeks ago I ran out of room as I was showing things. Sewing. A while ago I started a project to do reusable paper towels. One of these has been used, so I'm not going to show you the back of it, but I needed to be able to show you how they snap together. So essentially I just took 1 square of flannel and then 1 square of towel material. This one is the clean one. And I sewed them all around except for one side, flipped them right side out, and then sewed that last side with a zigzag stitch across it. So it's this fun coffee flannel print. And like I showed you, the other side is a brown towel, which I thought would not look as disgusting once it's been used a couple of times. This is the one that's been used, so we're not going to look at the other side. The flannel side still looks okay though. So then I bought a snaps kit that was for cloth diapers, and it comes with little, or rather I got the pliers, the snaps pliers, and they work with 3 different sizes of snaps, but these are the biggest size of snaps, and I got them at Joann's, but you can also order them on Amazon or things like that. So basically they just snap together like so, and then you can roll them around like a paper towel roll or whatever. Technically I could have done 3 snaps, but I thought that would actually probably interfere. I wanted to get them out as far as possible so that most of the cloth could be used and you're not rubbing a snap on things. Plus, if the kids are going to get themselves a towel, the fewer things they have to unsnap, the better, because they're probably going to try to rip them for one thing. And if they're getting a paper towel, it probably means they spilled something and they're going to be in a hurry. So, I have made 5 of these so far. I have a ton more fabric. I think I got 3 yards maybe of this towel material and the same of the flannel material. So I definitely do need to make more. I'm using this as a sewing project for Joshua and I to work on together because he's constantly asking me to sew things and he cannot reach both the machine and the pedal at the same time because he's 5 and he's very small. So I either have to have him guiding through the machine or operating the pedal. He usually wants to operate the pedal, but that means I have to not care that it's going to alternate between like super slow and crazy fast. So the best thing to be doing is to be sewing squares. So I let him sew squares with me when he asks me to sew. This is a long-term project that's just kind of as we have time. But, you know, every one that I make is one more that I have to use. And They're really fun. So, I just, for the sizing, I actually used a paper towel. So, I'm saying so a lot, I'm sorry. I took a paper towel from the roll, I measured it, I added a 1/2 inch seam allowance all around, and I made a cardboard cutout. And then I'm using that cardboard cutout to cut my squares. That's it. Very easy, highly recommend it. Even if you're a beginner sewist, this is very simple to do and very fun. I made my husband put the snaps on though, because he was just sitting at his computer and I was like, hey, why don't you put snaps on this pile of stuff? And he was excited to do it because he wants to use them. So that's that. Then looking at my timer there, let's do a little bit of sewing whips, I guess. So on the sewing front, keeping in with that, I started the sandbox pants for Joshua. These are crazy long. This is the size 5. Like a giant's size 5, I guess. Technically he measures the size 4, but it's elastic waistband, so I figured I would go ahead and do the size 5, because the waist isn't that far off, and I could make the elastic tighter, and then I will just hem up extra. So this line is the size 4 hem line, and this obviously is the size 5 hem line. So I'm going to go ahead and sew them all the way up and then hem a big hem instead. And that way he'll be able to wear them for 2 years potentially. I can just let down the hem. Or even if he has a growth spurt, which he could well have, I can do that. It is an Oliver & S pattern. However, it is not available in print anymore. I had bought it quite a while ago, I think a couple of years ago. In one of their sales. They do sometimes have sales, and I bought the PDF pattern. This is my first and maybe my only PDF pattern that I've ever done. Oh my god. So many pieces to cut, and then taping them all together was a nightmare. My hand had a cramp in it after I finished cutting them all out of the paper. And I try to avoid things that give me really bad hand cramps in here, because I do have de Quervain's tendonitis from my lovely children. So I don't want to exacerbate that, because I want to keep knitting for the rest of my life. So anything that causes me to have pain in that area, I try to avoid it or minimize it, and cutting out this PDF pattern with tiny paper scissors did just that. Yeah. So I don't know. But I'm using this very nice canvas that I bought from Affordable Fabrics. It is an eggplant color. Joshua picked it out. I picked all the fabrics, but of my pile of fabrics, he liked this purple. So I'm doing that, and then I cut for the fabric for the pocket linings, and then it has a waistband that's a contrasting fabric. Hardest fabric, because it has purple, and what better fabric for pocket linings than bigger on the inside? Yeah. Geeky. And awesome. I think that's going to be really good. But he was angry with me because he had purchased Halloween fabric when he went with me to the fabric store and thought that was going to be his pockets and his waistband. So now I'm going to have to make a second pair and use the Halloween fabric, which I will now show you. This is the Halloween fabric he picked out, which is adorable. And I have enough to make probably the waistband, pocket linings, and like a little collared shirt. So I'm thinking I might do that, because this would be super cute with those purple pants. Because the background is like that deep eggplant color. So it'd be really cute for Halloween. But I'm thinking I also will make a pair of black pants or gray pants, because I have some I don't have it in here, I'm sorry. I have some canvas that's this color gray that I bought for more pants for him, and I also have a black that I got for pants for him and a moss skirt for me. Yeah, I think that'll be really nice as a second pair of pants, and because it's just a little bit on the waistband, you could probably wear it any season, and most of the time your shirt is going to be covering that up anyway, but he knows it's there. And then he would have a cute festive shirt to wear to school for Halloween. And if I have any left, I will eke out a project bag for sure, because this is so freaking cute. And speaking of project bags, my other sewing whip, and then I'm going to stop my show. I can't find the outside to this though, so I can't start it. I was going to sew it while the kids are at the gym with Josh because it is Labor Day. And so I don't have to work today. So this is the inside. It is bright neon orange with these cute little spiders all over it. I believe Adrian from the Freakish Lemon podcast used some of this fabric maybe for a shirt collar or something. You know, he sewed a shirt that had this on it somewhere. I don't know if this was the whole fabric or if it was black with this as a collar. I think it was black with this as a collar. And I was like, I have some of that too. So this is going to be the inside, and then the outside is going to be R2-D2 in lots of different Halloween costumes. I have it interfaced somewhere, and those pieces are cut out and ready, and I don't know where they are. I don't know. Joshua may have taken them to his room because he thinks that all my fabric is technically blankets, and he uses it as blankets. So I will randomly find fat quarters laid in weird places. So that's probably where it is. All right, so I'm going to pause here, and I will come back, and hopefully this will fix my problem. Hello. I'm back. Okay. So let's just finish fabric acquisitions, and then we can be done with sewing. Yes. Megwin picked this in that ill-fated fabric store trip. It's crazy, but awesome. She wants to make a dress out of it. I think that it probably will, I think it would make a really cool, like, layered skirt. You know, the ones that are, like, gathered, tiered? Is that what they are? A tiered skirt. I think that would be really cool. And then, like, full length, all the, like, a maxi length. Is that what it is? Maxi length? Or maybe a maxi dress would be cute out of this. But she wants to attempt another sewing project. And I said, well, this will be slightly different because she's only ever sewn... No, she's sewn flannel. So she's made a sleeping bag for Joshua's mandrel toy. And then she's made her dress that I showed 2 episodes ago that was made of jersey fabric. So this is like a... It's some kind of cotton, but it's not quilting cotton. It's much softer than that. It's like the stuff you would see pool wraps made out of, like swim wraps to put around you when get out of swimsuits or sarongs. It's that sort of a softness of fabric and like flowy, drapey. So I think it would be really pretty as a gathered skirt. So I might use it as an opportunity to teach her how to gather and to cry her tears of gathering. But it looks really cool. And then I got this because Joshua was upset that there was no blue fabric for his pants because his favorite color is blue, and they didn't have any light blue. All they had was navy blue. So I'm definitely going to have to either go to Joann's or order some online, but I did get him some navy blue, which he said was okay. So I will make him some pants, and maybe I'll do the Treasure Pocket pants because they have a little inset of alternate material, and then I can make something like fun and colorful to go with it because canvas is not in very interesting colors. It's kind of boring, but it's very durable, and he is kind of hard on his clothes. So is Megwin, really. So that is all my fabric acquisitions. We went to the Affordable Fabrics together. Oh, it's not all, but I had the other things in the basement. So I bought some denim to try to make those, I believe it was the Ash jeans pattern. And then I might try to make some jeans for the kids, or like a jean skirt for Megwin, I think would be really cute. So I got like 5 yards. I unfortunately didn't check the pattern before I went, but I figured 5 yards of 60-inch wide fabric should be more than enough to eke out a pair of jeans for me, even if I screw up. I think I showed this last time, but this is what I'm going to use for the Brumby skirt. Haven't had time to cut that out. I had a lot of plans for this long weekend, and I hurt my back yesterday. So, unfortunately, I didn't get to the cleaning I wanted to do, or doing any sewing. I want to finish up those pants, the little polka dot, like seersucker dress for Megwin. I need to finish that soon if she's going to wear it at all before it gets too cold. But you know, best laid plans and all that. So I'm just rolling with it. So knitting whips. Oh, I swear I have some. I am test knitting for Sally Jane, who's Pink Hair Girl Knits. And she just designed a beautiful cardigan called the Warm Breeze cardigan. It's knit out of lace weight yarn, and it's like a long cardigan, but it's knit at a fingering weight gauge, so it's a little bit more open. So similar to the featherweight cardigan was knit at a fingering weight gauge. So here it is, and that's Sally Jane. And I really liked it when I saw it. And I've test knit for her before. If you'll remember, I did the As You Like It sweater, which you definitely should knit. So I agreed to, or I said, hey, I will test knit for you if you still need test knitters. I have some skeins of lace weight in my stash that have been sitting there for forever, and I don't know what to do with them. So this is perfect. This picture makes me feel a lot better. I was like, mine doesn't look as good as hers at all. Mine looks kind of like a bunch of crumbled up yarn. So there it is. It's got just this nice pearl bump detail along the sleeve and then echoed down the side. It's just an open front cardigan. I see it as a wardrobe staple, and I've been trying to focus on making some things that are going to be good wardrobe staples. And Kristen from the Wool and Vine Yarns podcast is hosting a cowl about that called the Practical. So this will be one of my entries in the Practical, is the Warm Breeze cardigan, because I will wear the heck out of it when I get it done. Now, Sally Jane, being the sweet person that she is not requiring that we have our sweaters done by mid-September, which is when she wanted to have feedback and potentially release the pattern. She just asked that we be to sleeve separation land, which I'm pretty sure I can get to. I do have some travel for work coming up, which coincides with the wool gathering in Ohio. So it's going back to Ohio. Which will be nice. So I'm going to just like extend my time that I'm there and go stay with my mom for a few days and try to visit with some friends, have lunch, and then that Saturday is wool gathering. So I was going to come back on Saturday, but I figured my mom would not appreciate having to drop me off at the airport before going to wool gathering. So I'm leaving Sunday very, very early. So I will go to wool gathering instead. So this is the yarn, and it actually came from wool gathering. I have 2 cakes of this, but I'm only going to show one because they're the same. So it's a really, really dark, deep burgundy. It's called Black Cherry, and it is by Fiber Optic. It's in her lace weight base. It comes in about between 1,000 and 1,200 yards. It's never exactly the same skein to skein. And I don't know how much mine had because Kimber ran out of her normal lace weight labels, so she used fingering weight labels and just crossed off all the info and wrote lace weight but didn't change the yardage. It's a surprise, but I know I have at least 1,000 yards in each cake. So I said, I have 2,000 yards. Is that going to be enough? Sally Jane said it would be more than enough. So see, from back here, it looks black. But if I come closer, you can see it. That's actually lighter than it is. My camera is blowing it out a little bit, but it helps you to see the variegation in the yarn. So it is a very deep burgundy. And I really do love it. And I fell in love with it when I saw it in the Fiber Optic booth. I was like, I must have that. I don't care if it's lace weight. I will figure out something to do with it. I need to wash this project bag. It's gross. So anyway, so I am alternating skeins. However, since it's a cardigan, you can't use the helical knitting method. You just do it on the edge. Old school style. And there are a lot of stitch markers. A lot. Because it's, you know, raglan. Raglan style, plus I have pattern markers. And all my little stitch markers are on projects at the moment, so I had to kind of scavenge a little bit. So I have some weird ones, and I have some of these rubbery ones that I almost never use because they make me have a bigger space there. So I don't have a ton. I wanted to finish my other sweater, and I needed the needles off of it to be able to start this. And I knew if I took the needles off that I probably wouldn't finish it. So I used that as the incentive to finish the sleeves, and I cast it on, and then my back was hurting yesterday, so I actually didn't knit very much. I cross-stitched. But I have been knitting on it a little bit this morning, and I will knit on it once I finish recording here. But I do have the pattern starting, so that's the first pattern repeat. You can see the yarn overs on either side and the little bump. But mine looks, I am doing it to the gauge she calls for, but mine just looks so much more open than hers. It could be because it's dark color and hers was a light color, so like a dark color held like over my skin is gonna look really open. It's gonna really emphasize that, but I probably would wear it over top of like a black shirt or something. I have a lot of black t-shirts, so that's probably what I would do, or over dark things, or maybe I would wear it over light things. I don't know. One of the things I like about the lace that Kimber has, though, is that it's not a single ply. I don't think single plies are super strong, and especially not in this kind of a garment where it's got that very open texture that I feel like that's kind of inviting there to be pulls and snags and rips if it were a single ply. So I'm glad it's a 2-ply yarn, so it's going to have a little bit more strength behind it. And yeah, I do love these stitch markers, and I do not use them enough, but I should. These fun little dangly ones, and they're yellow. So I'm down to the dregs though on stitch markers that fit on smaller needles. I have a lot that are for bigger needles because I used to knit a lot on size 7 and above, and now I pretty much always knit on size 5 and below, occasionally a 6. Like I knit the colorwork portion of that sweater on a size 6 and everything else in a 5, but this one's a 5. Almost all my sweaters that are fingering weight sweaters are knit on a 5. This is a 5 as well. US 5, sorry. So it's not very much, but it's getting there. and I put it in my Harry Potter bag that I sewed. My Halloween one will be the same size. This is like my favorite size of bag, and I just kind of drafted it myself. So I need to make a few more of these in some different fabrics. I have enough of that TARDIS fabric to make one. I have some Marauders Map fabric that I'd like to make into one. But I need to get sewing because I don't have enough of this size bag. But they're super useful. Here's my other one that I have that's roughly that same size, but yeah, it's pretty much the same. They always turn out slightly different. This one's not heavily interfaced though. This one is. I use the thickest interfacing and I kind of prefer it. This one's a little scrunchy. This is a twinsy bag with one that I sent to Kristen. I think it was in a Christmas package. I don't know. I always theme my packages. So I try to come up with a theme every year. So in here is... I suck at sound effects. The husband sweater. It lives. It lives. Don't tell Josh. He thinks I'm not working on it. Rude. I did find an error though in the pattern, which was what was causing me issues before, that I was like, huh? My stitch counts don't match that. So I did the math, and the stitch counts for the sleeves on the, I don't know, 2XL for the Tin Can Knits pattern are wrong. So this is the Gramps cardigan by Tin Can Knits. I am knitting it for my husband. I'm knitting it, I believe, in the 2XL size. I went by the chest circumference, so I couldn't tell you now. Yeah, the 2XL, it's the 52-inch chest. So, if you're going to knit the 52-inch chest, the place where you have the amount of sleeve stitches that you're going to have before you sleeve separate is wrong by 5 stitches. But if you add it all up, you'll figure out that you're 10 stitches short if you go by what they say. Add in your 5 stitches. Bing! So I am knitting this out of navy blue Barocco Vintage. This is yarn that came from my Aunt Lynn's stash. My Aunt Lynn loved blue. It was one of her favorite colors. She had a lot of blue yarn. And there was a ton of this Barocco Vintage. I think there are 15 balls of it. So I was like, that is plenty to make a sweater for Josh. It's just plain navy blue, and it has one of my hairs on it. But it's a nice solid yarn, and it's going to be really good for, you know, multi-purpose stuff. So I am almost done with the raglan increases. It's giant. This is on a 40-inch cable, 48-inch cable. I don't know. It's not 60, but it's one size down from that. I'm knitting it on a size 7 needle. And it's very plain right now. So it's a shawl collar sweater with buttons. I have my Blueberry Shortcake Progress Keeper from Little Bitty Delights. That came with a Blueberry Shortcake Gilmore Girls themed collaboration with the Yarn at Home Mom, which I have not knit that yarn up yet. Right here though. Came with this, so it matches this guy. And it is called I Needed the Strawberries. That's what this one is. Which is a scene with Suki and Jackson. And then this mini skein is Vicious Trollop. So that's the sock set that goes with the Progress Keeper. And then I have all of my little Katrinkles Rhinebeck 2018 markers, hoping they do a 2019 set because I do really love them and I would like to have another set. So that one says Rhinebeck Robust and has a little car on it. There's a sheepy. There's one that's got a New York State on it. This one just says New York Sheep and Wool. They're really cute. Yep, so I'm glad to be cruising along on that again. I think it'll be better once I sleeve separate. I'll have fewer stitches. There's like 400 stitches almost on the needles right now. So that's like the size of a shawl at its widest point. And then imagine just knitting that forever. Yep. How am I on time? I mean, 18 minutes. Okay. The next one is a new cast on. So I am participating in the Woolly Thistle sweater knit along. So Corrine, who owns the Woolly Thistle, does a sweater knit along leading up to Rhinebeck. And I believe the deadline is Rhinebeck or Rhinebeck weekend. And it's to knit an adult-sized garment. It can be a colorwork, all-over colorwork vest or a sweater with yarns that you purchased from the Woolly Thistle. And I think you can use some other yarns, but it needs to be at least like 80% yarn purchased from the Woolly Thistle. And I buy a lot of yarn from the Woolly Thistle because she has great yarns, and it's one of the main places that you can get European woolly yarns here in the United States. And she's also really close to me. So she's in New Hampshire, I'm in Connecticut, so it's a sort of local business. Pretty much anywhere in New England is kind of a local business because I can drive an hour in any direction and be in another state, which is crazy. Having lived in a lot of different places where that was not the geography or dynamic blows my mind. I think probably for people living in Europe, that makes perfect sense, but sense of scale in the United States, you can drive for 10 hours in California and still be in California. So my main color of my body is, they're all tuku wool, just so you know. I'm using Uyo, which is a mauvey blush color. And then my contrast colors are Sake, which is this creamy undyed. This one's the softest one, the undyed one. And then I believe it's Kayo or Kajo. I think it's Kayo if you were going by the same pronunciation. I'm starting to learn Swedish, but kind of suck at it still. Disa is helping me with my pronunciation. So I know how to say like, hello, what is your name? My name is, where are you from? I'm from, that kind of stuff. And I'm starting to learn the like pronouns for things. So yeah, Kayo, which is a red, and it does not look this red now in my sweater, because once you get it next to this, it starts to look more maroon, but it's like a Christmassy red, I think. It's really pretty. So I cast it on the cast on date. They had kind of a cast on party, and I actually won a prize, which is so exciting, from Toriro. And Tori has already given me the pattern that I chose. I chose one that has like goats and color work, and it is a cardigan. I don't know how to pronounce it though. It's like Singalangalinga. I don't know. I'll have to ask Tisa what that means. But I liked it. It had goats on it because I used to have a goat when I was little. His name was Sparky, and he was white. And I left him. Yep. So this is the Winterfjell yoke. a pattern by Skein-Deer. It has short rows, so I learned how to do German short rows, the short rows on the neckline. And one of the things about the pattern is it tells you how to calculate doing increases evenly, and then it doesn't tell you how to do your increases. So it just says increase this amount of stitches evenly across. So I have a calculator online that I've used for a long time where you just plug it in, because frankly I can do math, but I can't be bothered to do it in my spare time. I get paid to do math for my job, so I don't need to do math in my spare time. So I use that online calculator. I put a link to it in my project page, so if you're interested, it also shows you how to do decreases. So you can get either an uneven decreasing or evenly spaced across, as evenly as you can get. And it's just a free online calculator. You plug in your stuff, it's going to calculate and tell you what to do. Why do I keep seeing a dark spot right there? Oh, it's just a stitch. Okay. So there it is so far. This thing is freaking knitting itself. It's ridiculous fast. I think because it's on size 6 needles, and the Tuka wool is actually pretty beefy for a fingering weight. I would say it's closer to a sport weight, probably. So I think I'm doing the 40-inch bust for this. And like I said, a size 6 for the color work, size 5, like I said, for the plain body. I am halfway through the charts for the yoke. Now, my kids love SpongeBob, and so I keep thinking of SpongeBob, this episode where he goes, "You're halfway there, halfway there, halfway there." Freaking crazy. Okay. So I've held this up long enough, I think. You get the general gist of it. It is so addictive, but I was like, no, Nina, stop the candy of the color work, because you have to finish your other sweater. So I put this down, I finished the other sleeve, and I cast on my test knit. Do I want to knit this color work all day long? So go and knit one. It's super fun. And it's going to be such a nice warm sweater. What I wanted was one for walking, so I've been doing a lot of just walking in my driveway in the evenings. When I get home from work, I'm trying to do at least 30 minutes or 5,000 steps. If I get to 30 minutes and I haven't reached 5,000 steps for the day, I keep going until I exceed that. If I get past 5,000 steps but I haven't done 30 minutes, I do 30 minutes. So that's what I'm doing. So when it gets cold and snowy, I'm going to need something warm to keep doing that. I think this is going to be perfect. It's going to be so nice in the winter. And I love the colors. Really love my color choices. And it's 100% stash, because I have had these two for a long time. I bought them when I think Corrine was having like a Woolly Thistle birthday sale, like 1 year in business or 2 years or something. So I purchased those thinking I might do colorwork mittens, and they kind of sat there. And I also purchased 2 of these to do colorwork mittens. And then this pattern came out, and I thought, well, I want to do the body of it in this, and I didn't know what colors I wanted to use as my contrast, but I essentially went and purchased 4 more skeins of this. So it was nice to break it up, broke up the costs a little bit, but they're very close in color. So I think I'll probably just alternate skeins once I get on the body of the sweater, but not doing it on the colorwork part. And that is in a bag that my friend Miriam made for me. And she is Dutch Wool Diva. It's really nice canvas. I don't know why I can't find cool canvas like this here. Apparently the Netherlands has it. They keep all the good canvas for themselves. And I will show my last sewing whip, my last knitting whip, and then I'll stop again and switch over to pattern acquisitions next on the needles and cross stitch. So the last thing I've been working on is my Sew Faded in Yellow. This has become my bedtime project because it's really easy to see when it's dark. So like if I'm not tired yet, but Joshua wants to lay down and go to sleep and he wants me to cuddle him, usually I'll let him sit in the bed and then I just have on my little side table lamp, which isn't very strong. So things like the test knit I couldn't do because it's hard to see with very dull lighting, but this is perfect. Plus I know this pattern really well. This is my third one. So I have finished all of the sleeve increases and I am doing the part where you just do body increases. Body increases. So I have maybe 10 rows left and then I will separate the sleeves. So I'm now fading in my second color. I'm going to turn to the back so you can see this one better as my bag falls down. Yeah! Yarn down! So my first colorway is Life in the Long Grass in the cushion colorway. And I really love the subtle specklage. It has that really pretty spring green and pink and light blue. And I have faded in one stripe already, but you can't even tell yet. This yarn, which is Bad Wolf Girl Studios in the Beauxbatons colorway. So it's a Harry Potter themed. So that will be my second color. And then my third color is a Hot Mess. And it is Adelaide Cottage in the I'm Ready to Wallow Now colorway. It was a Gilmore Girls Club yarn that Shauna did a couple years ago. And I will stop here, untangle this, and come back. Okay, and I'm back. So my third color is this one. I'm Ready to Wallow Now by Adelaide Cottage. So pretty. And then my last color has a needle in it. I don't even know why that needle's in there. It's like a hat needle. That does not make sense. My third color is Fig Bash from Wool and Vine Yarns. Still not sure if I'm going to use this one or the one I have in the singles base because it's a little bit lighter. I don't know. Jury's still out on that one. Could go either way. But it will be this color. This one just has a lot more brown and gold in it. Okay, it looks green, but it's not. So anyway, that's potentially my fourth color. Technically, I can make a sweater with 3 skeins, so I might do that. I don't know yet. So we'll see what happens. I'm just going to go with it, see what I want to do as it unfolds. Definitely those 3 colors are this very light buttery yellow background And I just don't have another one like that in my stash. I technically do. I could use cat sandwich, but I think I only bought 3 skeins of the cat sandwich fibers, which is also a super pale yellow with like a lot of speckles. I have the Italian ice colorway. I don't know what I want to do. So anyway, it's at least going to be these 3. So that is zipping along. I don't know if this will or will not be done for Rhinebeck. It might be, might not be. The only way it would be is if I do Sally Jane's test knit, but don't knit it as long as I want. Because otherwise that test knit is probably going to take a while. But that's okay. And then the last thing is my Halloween cross stitch. So I have had all of this stuff to make the Halloween Spooky Sampler by the Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery for about 4 years, and I've just never done it. So the other day, yesterday, I made pumpkin waffles, and I was leaning down to get them into the oven. So we like put our oven on warm and like put them in there, and it kind of dries them out the rest of the way before you freeze them. So I was doing that, and I was unbending or standing back up straight, and I felt something like tweak in my back on my right side, which when I was pregnant with Joshua, that's where he was laying along my sciatic nerve. I had like an anterior placenta, and he kind of sat there, and I had really bad sciatic pain when I was pregnant with him. And periodically still, when I stretch too far to the right, I will get a pretty significant like shooting pain up my back. So I got that yesterday, and I was not able to do a whole lot. So I stretched, I did some yoga stretches, I tried to keep moving, because the worst thing you can do when you have back pain like that is to lay down. So I didn't do that. I tried to sit up very straight and just took ibuprofen and, you know, just keeping the inflammation down. And so I was like, well, I can't really knit right now, because having my, I don't know, the way I knit is a little bit weird. It didn't feel good. So I was like, okay, I'm going to cross stitch. So I went and I got the fabric out. It actually called for a lighter fabric than this. I have the one it calls for, and I don't like that the little ghosts don't really show up. So this I had bought for the Woodland Sampler, which is like a little thing for each month of the year, a little scene. The whole reason I bought it is because there's gnome on it. But I'm going to use the one that this calls for that, and I use that fabric for this. So this is Cashel linen in the earthen colorway. It's hand dyed by Picture This Plus, and it is glittery. I bought a bunch of it years and years ago. They do a Christmas in July fabric sale once a year, and you can order it. It's relatively cheap, but it takes them months to do it because they are just a small business, a couple of ladies, and they hand dye all the linen. So I ordered it in July. I think I got it in December. So that year was shot for doing my Halloween thing. And then, I don't know, I just never felt the urge to do it. But yesterday I did, so I started it. So this is the border. It's a really fancy border. It's designed by Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery. This is actually a purple, like an eggplant purple hand-dyed yarn. hand-dyed thread. This is also a hand-dyed thread in Onyx. They're Weeks Dye Works, and this one is Pumpkin Weeks Dye Works. I had all of the hand-dyed thread for it as well. Everything was ready to go. I just, like I said, never picked it up. Problem is I didn't have the full pattern printed out, and I didn't save it to my computer. So I sent an email to Amanda and Ashley, who run Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery, and said, hey, I purchased this like in 2014. It was before they switched to their new website, and I asked, is there any way they can track it down? I was like, I probably could look on PayPal and get you my receipt number if that's helpful. And I was like, if not, no big deal. I have the pattern printed. I just need to know the size of the fabric I need to have, because I knew this was way too big. But I wanted to make sure I left myself enough room for framing, and I'm not very good at estimating that yet. So I thought probably 3 inches on each side of the design, and it's 8 inches by 8 inches. So I was kind of guessing from that, but this is an 18-inch by 27-inch piece of fabric, because the Woodland sampler is a really long and thin one. And I was expecting to hear back on Tuesday, and I was like, fine, I'll just kind of fudge it and eyeball it. And they emailed me back yesterday, which is amazing customer service. I was not expecting that at all. They also like resent me a copy of the pattern and told me what size fabric to use. So hats off to them. They are amazing ladies, and I appreciate that wonderful customer service. So I felt good. I had started it at the right place. I bumped it down, so I have 3 inches of fabric up here, but it's underneath my Q-snap. And I'll have, I think, 4 inches on each side. So I did all of this yesterday. And I'm also going to enter this in Gabby and Joanne's Pumpkin Mouth. So they do a make-along every year that is anything pumpkin. So this has a lot of pumpkins on it. This is actually a little pumpkin. It's a little jack-o'-lantern. So there's going to be its eyes. So the Spooky Halloween sampler has a block for each letter of Halloween. And it then has a companion piece for Christmas that I also have and have started. So I'll probably work on that later in the year too. So yeah, that's what I got done on it so far. I have my fun little needle minder that's a pumpkin spice latte. I don't really like pumpkin spice lattes, but I love pumpkin spice. But they're just too sweet. So I've had like homemade ones, and they're actually really good. And I can do like 1 or 2 pumps of pumpkin spice, and that's kind of it for me. But the full-on strength, too much. So I will just be cross-stitching tiny little skulls and bats and spiders forever, because they're awesome and I love them. Cross-stitch is also my oldest craft, probably. I've been cross-stitching since I was like 5. I didn't do it for many, many years. I burnt myself out on a wolf picture in my 20s, and I did not touch it again until my late 30s. That stupid wolf burnt me out for like a decade. Don't do it. But these are great. They're nice and simple and very fun and very cute. So that is everything I've been working on. I did purchase a couple of patterns. Some were the ones that I said in the aforementioned sale that I'm not going to share, but I did purchase some for Joji Locatelli's Fall Cal, the Joji Fall Cal, and I signed up for 3 objects. Will I finish 3 sweaters in the amount of time that it goes? No, probably not, but I'm going to work on them, and I think it'll be good motivation for me to do that. So they are, in no particular order, the Madewell cardigan, which I've wanted to make for years. Again, it is a basic, so I'm thinking this will kind of qualify for both the Practical and Joji's Fall Cal. And I forgot to mention, but I think, which I have to check with Anna, I think we are co-hosting a fall cow. I think it was supposed to start September 1st, but her thread is still locked and she doesn't have dates on it. So I don't know if that is still happening or if she's decided not to do it. But either way, I am hosting a fall cow. So it starts September 1st, which is today, or maybe it's yesterday. I don't know. September 1st through October 31st. And then I think we'll be well into the Christmas knitting season. So anything that reminds you of fall, be it fall colors, fall pattern, etc., make it. And it's make along. So you can sew, you can cross stitch, you can quilt, you can macrame, spin, weave, knit, crochet, embroider, all the crafts. Paper crafts. Make it. So I will open up a thread for that. So the Madewell cardigan, I am going to make mine out of this. It's in a plastic bag for a reason. We'll talk about that in a minute. So this is Octopus Garden. One of my very favorite yarn colorways that Kristen has ever created from her brilliant little mind. She does not dye it anymore, I don't think. This is old Kristen yarn. See, hangy tags, as I refer to them, hangy tags. So Octopus Garden is a practical garment for me because, again, these are all the colors that make up my wardrobe. Golds, mints, pinks. It's going to match a lot of stuff. And a really basic, like, fingering weight, open front cardigan is perfect to go over dresses, to go with shirts and jeans. It's going to be amazing. So I've caked up one of them. This is the sparkly one. I have a sweater's quantity sparkly and then a sweater's quantity not sparkly because my lovely yarn benefactor gave me both because she's crazy awesome like that. So yes, Octopus Garden. That is going to be the Madewell cardigan. So that's one of the things I signed up for the Hokey Fall Cow. Oops. Didn't squeeze the air out of that before I did it. Then the next one that I chose is the Recoleta. I think Kristen started one of these at one point and she didn't finish it, but I fell in love with this pattern when I saw what she had knit up of it and I wanted one. So I just purchased it for the Fall Cow, and it is not a very good copy. But it is, again, an open front cardigan with lace down the front, and I think the lace panel is also on the back, like going down the back. And it has kind of a shawl collar-y thing in the back. So it's a really pretty cardigan. And I am going to use one of the sweater's quantities of Stargazing that I inherited from my Aunt Lynn. She had a lot of this yarn in her stash. So one of the sweater's quantities I have is more on the greenish, bluish side, and one is more on the navy side. These are completely different from each other in person. You can kind of see. The one on this side is the more green one, and the one on this side is the more blue one. So I have, I think, 4 or 5 skeins of each type. I don't think they'll go well together. It will really show up. But I don't know which one I want to go for. I'm kind of tending towards the one that's a little more blue. And I think this one would be nice as like a pullover. There you can see, like, there's some full-on green there. And this one doesn't have anything like that. This one is much more like a navy with darker undertones. And this one has a lot of green in it. So I think it will probably be this. all of those other things are the ties, because when I got the yarn from her, I washed all of it. It had been sitting in storage bins for a long time. When she became very ill with cancer, she went and stayed with my cousin, her son, and he took care of her until she passed. And so all of her yarn went into Rubbermaid storage bins, and it was like, some was in, I think, off-site storage, and some was in like his basement. So there was some moth damage, but I froze and washed and all of that stuff, all of the yarn. So, and these bled like crazy, which is the thing with Mad Tosh, like the darker colors, they bleed a lot. So do not wash them with other things until you've washed them like a lot of times. These got washed like 2 or 3 times to finally make them stop bleeding. And I think my mom also got a Sweaters Quantity of stargazing. She had a lot of stargazing in her stash. So that's going to be the Recoleta. And then I also signed up for the Puntilla, which I don't have the yarn over here for, but I have already cast that one on. I'm going to use Yarn at Home Mom in the Raining Lorelei colorway, which is like a baby pink. Don't judge. With Solstice. Yeah, Solstice in Blitzed from Dolomite. And I'm going to knit it with like pink solid to here, to the bottom of the bust, and then stripes down the body. Rachel from the Hey Sister podcast knit one for herself like that with pink and gray, and I really love hers, so I want it to look like that. But Solstice is more of like a beigey brown, and I got a second skein in the stash sale that Kristen did, which is perfect. I wasn't sure if I'd have enough Solstice, but now I do. I need to not lose this because this is the hand-dyed stuff. Okay. So that's the last one I signed up for, but I bought another pattern from Joji that I've been wanting for a while, and it is the Citadel. So she designs all these beautiful coats that are like cabled coats. I think I'm going to use the monster skeins that I got from my mom that are Briar Rose fibers. They're ginormous. I'm looking over there at them, but each one is like 600 or 700 yards of worsted weight, and it's in kind of a blues, greens, golds sense of theme. So it's this, and oh my gosh, that is a wardrobe staple for me. If I ever saw one, like a knitted coat would be amazing. But it would be all stashed. I think these are pockets in the bottom band, but I'm not sure. I haven't checked out the actual pattern, but they look like pockets. I think they are. If not, I probably could make pockets there. I'm looking to see if there's a picture. Now I'm all curious. Yes, it says pocket on bottom again. So those are definitely pockets. This just got more awesome. There we go. It's a picture with her in the pocketses. Yep. So that will be knitted eventually, but probably not this year. And then a pattern I've been waiting to come out for a while because I follow Tina on Instagram. So Tina Say Knits on Instagram designed a sweater called the Golden Horizon sweater. So it's a DK weight sweater with stripes of singles. The print out came out really bad. It's a pattern with, or the picture has her in like a sun beam, but it did not play well with my printer at all. There's a lot of pattern around this. Just show you the picture. There, you can see it better. So she designed it, I think, with La Bien Aimée singles for that yellow stripe. I'm just going to use a fingering weight, like a normal fingering weight. I only have one sweater's quantity of DK weight in my stash. I do not have a lot of DK weight, which I noticed, like, a lot of designers are designing with DK, and I don't really have very much. I either have fingering or I've got worsted. So, anyway, I think I can make my fingering weight work for the singles, and then I'm going to use the one sweater's quantity of DK that I have, because I've had it in my stash for a long time. It is Classic Elite Cash Soft DK, and it's in like a raspberry color, and I'm going to use the Pop-Tarts from Adelaide Cottage as the stripe. So it's going to be another pink sweater, and haters going to hate. Sorry. But it's a different pink. It's not the same pink, it's a different pink. And the last pattern that I purchased is the Trelawney shawl by Tyne Swedish. And she just rebranded herself on Instagram, so I've followed her for quite a while, and she was Tyne Swedish, and now she is the cleverest Stitch. Like the cleverest witch of her age from Harry Potter, but now she's the cleverest Stitch. So she produced her first shawl pattern based on Sybil Trelawney from Harry Potter. It is a triangular shawl, which I love, and it has tassels. I've never made one with tassels before, but I might do it for this one. I don't know. It may not be very practical. So you can see the full extent of it. So it's a two-color, or it's a two-skein shawl. I think I'm going to use Assaulted by Bears, which is a Volendine Club colorway I've got, and the leftovers that I have of Pumpkin Kombucha from my As You Like It sweater. I think those would be really pretty together. So potentially next time I will have those yarns out. Again, this isn't something I'm going to knit like in the immediate future, but I might, because she's doing a cowl right now. It's an Instagram only cowl, and I think the hashtag is Trelawney Shawl Cowl. So yeah, you definitely should check this pattern out. Tyne is a really awesome human being besides, and very interesting, thought-provoking. She has a great Instagram feed, and I love her stories, and she is the first one that I go and check out every single day. So yeah, that's the last pattern that I purchased. And then I will stop here and come back with stories of what's been going on. I'm going to rearrange a little bit here. So, welcome children to story time. So last week, or last weekend, was I think it was 2 weekends ago. Anyway, it was after I podcast. If you'll recall, last time you joined me, that I said I had seen a few moths flying around that Joshua had let in from keeping the front door open, because we don't have a screen door on our front door. It's what I consider to be the formal door. So there's a really large staircase leading up to it, and technically the main floor of our house is actually the second floor. So we have like a walkout basement, and then the main floor is the next floor up, because we live in a forest, in a hill. And downstairs is kind of like our hobbit hole. And then this floor is above the ground, so you have to go up a flight of stairs to get to the front door. There's no screen door. So Joshua will often stand at said door with the door open, yelling at me while I'm doing my walk. "Mommy, I need a snack! Mommy, Sissy did this to me. Mommy, will you come and play with me? Fill in the blank here. And I will tell him repeatedly, Joshua, come outside and close the door behind you. Joshua, you need to close the door. Joshua, close the freaking door. So at some point in all of this door opening, standing, mommy yelling, Moths got in, and Moths discovered the delicious buffet that sits in the formal living room right next to the formal entryway. I noticed a few cakes that were caked up near the front of one of the cubbies. Looked like they had been nibbled upon. So I was like, I need to investigate this further. And I started to look more, and I noticed more skeins with little nibbles, and more skeins with little nibbles. And I freaked out. So I took all of the yarn out of the cubbies. I took my shawls out of the little box that I keep them in. Like, I've got one of those insert drawer things that fit in there. But inside of that, I have like a really big cedar box that they sit in. So I fold them into half and then to thirds, and then I roll them. And then all of the rolls sit inside of this cedar box. Those were fine. I uncurled them all. I laid them all on a drying rack to like air them. And then I inspected each one to make sure there were no signs of moth damage. And I left them sitting out like that for the rest of the day. And then I proceeded to spend the next 2 days skeining stuff that was bald. I had to reskein it all, wash it in vinegar, and then I put all of it into my car and baked my yarn for the next 2 days. I read a pretty extensive blog post by a woman, and she said that if you can have over 3 hours of your yarn being at 130 degrees Fahrenheit or higher, that will kill moth eggs and larvae. So I think it got up to 85 or 90. So your car actually gets above 130 degrees. I think it got to about 135 degrees. And so it's essentially like a giant yarn oven. And that is what I used it for. So I baked all of my yarn for about 6 hours the first day. And then I just left it in my car for the next couple of days. So far so good. I then re-skeined everything. And I caked a couple of things that had moth damage, and I cut off the moth damaged parts. So a few of my Yarn at Home Mom skeins were nibbled on. My cat sandwich fibers was nibbled on. None of my Volanvine. I had a lot of cedar in my Volanvine cubby, and I think that is what saved it. So I need to obviously invest in more cedar. For now, I've got everything that's in those other cubbies in plastic bags, like the Ziplocs, because I'm still going to give it some time. A lot of my stash is already in those clear totes that Amanda used to sell in the No Maker shop, but I wasn't able to purchase enough to store all of my stash that way before she went out of business. So unfortunately, I don't have enough to hold all of my stash. But the damage was pretty minimal given everything. I think I caught it pretty early, which is good. So yeah. a cautionary tale for all of you. And I've basically told the kids not to use that door anymore. So at least the mods have further that they have to travel from downstairs to up here, and all of our other doors have a screen door. So I really need to invest in a storm door for the front door. I want to have one anyway, because it would be nice to be able to have that door be open and have a screen so that there can be like airflow in the summertime. Because I am a person who likes to not use the air conditioning for as long as I can, and I love having fresh air. I don't like things being stuffy. So it's really nice to open the windows. Like I have all the windows open right now. So nothing was so bad that I needed to throw it away. So that was good. I've had carpet beetles before in our old house because my stash was all in the upstairs and it was carpeted upstairs. We do not have much carpet here. It's only in the kids' bedrooms. It's the only place where there's carpet for now. I would like to replace that with wood flooring, but I'm kind of letting them get through their sloppy, destroying everything phase with the crappy carpet that's up there, because it's clearly carpet remnants. It doesn't even really fit, and it wasn't laid well. But that's fine. It will help get them through this bad phase of their life, and then we will put oak flooring through those final 2 rooms. The rest of our house has all oak flooring, and it's really beautiful. There is some downstairs. They clearly intended to finish it out. So there are some boxes with the boards, the unfinished boards. So we do have the materials to complete it whenever we're ready to do that. So that is one of the things that happened. And then the kids started school. So Joshua is officially a kindergartner now, which is amazing and crazy. I can't believe that I'm old enough to have a 4th grader and a kindergartner. I don't know how that happened, but somehow it did. So he's really loving school so far. I'm really excited to see how his school experience will be different from Megwin's. We had some real issues with Megwin's school. If you've been watching the podcast since the beginning, you will know all about those trials and tribulations. She was in one school for kindergarten and 1st grade. It was a really bad school. The principal ended up even leaving because it was not good. And then like Ohio has a special program for STEM schools, and anybody can go to them. There was one that was arts and social sciences focused, and then one was math focused. You just have to apply. So we applied, and we were basically anybody could get in the arts and social sciences one, and everybody was wanting to go to the math one, the math and science one. So we applied to both. We got into the arts and social sciences, and she actually got into the math one later, so she could have gone to 3rd grade there, but she went to 2nd grade at that school. It was much better, and then obviously we moved to Connecticut. So she's been to 3 schools in 4 years, and so this year is kind of the first year she got some continuity, and she reported that, you know, it was so nice to go back and see all of her friends again and talk about what happened over the summer. And it's just such a nice school. It really is. They have a lot of personalized attention. We're in, you know, a much smaller community now. So Joshua is going to get to grow up with that school and never, you know, have the bad experience. So I'm really excited to see. Hopefully it'll be a lot more positive. But so far so good. So he's enjoying that, and they're actually focusing on bringing back handwriting again, which is amazing. Megwin's handwriting is sad. They never taught her like how to make letters kind of going top to bottom like all of us learned. So like an H, for example, we go top to the bottom for the stick and then up and over for the hump. She goes like this from the bottom up. So she actually makes the hump first and then adds a stick. Watching her write things, I'm just like, because we spent years, literally years, doing handwriting drills. And then we did cursive. So she is starting on some cursive. I got her some books to practice with, and she's enjoying that. She does want to learn it, which I think will motivate her a lot more. But I think it's important, and it's actually good from studies they've done to handwrite things. It kind of engages this different part of your brain that helps with learning. So, yeah, and she's allowed to do cursive writing this year. And I've noticed her handwriting has improved a lot, but it's been a struggle. So I'm glad that they're going to go from the very beginning with Joshua. And I think they're using the Handwriting Without Tears curriculum, which will be really nice. So, and Megwin's also doing really well in school so far. She loves her teacher. Her teacher seems very kind and attentive, and I actually sent home a paper to ask how does your child learn and what are things you want to focus on and that kind of stuff. So just that extra attention is great. And other than that, like I said, I'm going to be traveling for work. I'll get to go to wool gathering. I'm excited to visit a little bit with my family and some of my friends that I haven't seen in quite a while. I'm going to go to lunch with some people, go spend a couple hours knitting and crafting with another one of my close friends. So that'll be good. And otherwise, that is pretty much all that I have. So there are 2 cows going on in the group right now. There's the new one I just announced, the fall cow, which I will get some threads up. I locked the self-striping cow thread. I probably will I'll unsticky those. And I usually sticky the most current episode thread so you can see, all of this stuff. And there's the Stash Your Shelf Challenge thread that's up. That'll be going through the end of the year. I've got the thread up for if you are going to Rhinebeck or India Untangled. So like I said, if you want to meet up with me, just let me know. You can post something there and we can coordinate, or you can certainly send me a private message on Ravelry or on Instagram. And we can coordinate. Because I definitely want to meet people in person. I will be there with my friend Andrea and my sister Mitzi. And if you see me and you didn't coordinate, just come up and say hi, give me a hug, tell me who you are, because I want to meet you. So that is everything I have for this week. Thank you so much as always for joining me, and I will podcast again in 2 weeks. So until then, take some time to do the things that you love, and I will talk to you next time. All right, bye-bye.